Let me ask you, you've been asked a million different ways about Social Security. You know the Democrats want to bring this issue up. Sunsetting the program every 5 years for renewal. Why do that? Why?
He didn't pay his taxes.
Senator, you're playing a math game here. You're playing a math game. They didn't cut anything on Medicare. It's cost savings having to do with the prescription drug. Look, I understand that you want to call it something else, but
Chuck, if you cut spending in Medicare, it's probably going to impact the ability for somebody to provide things.
Everybody, here is some breaking news about the stimulus payments from President Biden. President Biden has something for the American people right now, or people are in some big trouble. Now, we know this. Congress is taking action on stimulus payments. It comes as they address in several issues that millions of Social Security, SSI, and SSDI recipients are facing. Joe Manchin is actually urging the Democrats and Republicans just come to an agreement very fast. Some seniors, though, may end up receiving bigger monthly checks than expected. Now, folks, Joe Manchin is calling for broad bipartisan deals to protect the solvency of Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, popular programs that face serious funding issues over the next few decades. During a conference, Manchin said we can't keep living with crippling debt. We have to look at the trust funds that are going bankrupt, whether it be Medicare, Medicaid, or just Social Security. They're a tremendous problem right now. You heard that right, folks. Joe Biden actually said that Joe Manchin might cancel Social Security. Manchin also stated if we can't come to grips of how to face the financial challenge that the country has, we're going to be paying a price that we can't afford. So Manchin, who's saying Biden's ambitious $3 trillion Build Back Better agenda in December, has often talked about the financial challenges facing Social Security and Medicaid. The Social Security Administration announced last year that it's just not projected to have the funds to pay for the full benefits past 2033. In February, Manchin proposed addressing the shortfall by increasing the amount of income subject to taxation. It'll be done to fund Social Security from $147,000 to $400,000. Manchin also pushed against Senate Budget Committee Bernie Sanders' effort to expand Medicare to include vision, dental, and hearing benefits. He argued that the core program itself was in danger because of the soaring federal debt. So if Manchin continues to push for bipartisan deals to shore up the finances of Social Security and Medicare, he could have a negotiating partner in Mitch McConnell, who has just proposed broad entitlement reform on several previous occasions. After Republicans held the Senate majority in the 2014 midterm election, McConnell decried that what he called the unsustainable growth rate of Social Security and Medicare, and warned we need to make adjustments to these popular programs or they won't be there in the next generation. If you guys don't remember, back in 2018, Republicans controlled the White House, and McConnell said back then that spending was the main driver of the federal deficit. And now Manchin just jumped on this. He said it's a bipartisan problem. Unwillingness to address the real drivers of the debt by doing anything to adjust those programs to the demographics of America in the future. Biden said that 16 million Americans who applied for the student loan debt program are going to be approved by the end of the week. It's just the last step before they begin receiving forgiveness checks. During an event in New Mexico, Biden said, by the end of the week, the Department of Education will have approved applications of 16 million Americans into the paperwork to student loan servicers, the last step before people can receive the money. A legal ruling has actually halted the administration from dispersing
today to add $250 billion to the Paycheck Protection Program, loans for small businesses to pay workers late out of money. Billions have been requested, but very little paid.
Lenders fear they'll be left holding the bag if the loan isn't processed properly or if it turns out to be fraudulent.
Some banks are requiring pre-existing relationships to hand out the loans. Democrats want a quarter of the new money set aside for small businesses that don't have that.
Folks, President Biden is here and he's ready to talk about the fourth stimulus check. I'm ready for President Biden to send out more stimulus payments to the American people that need it the most. Folks, a second round of stimulus checks up to $1,000 is actually currently underway. So everybody, a second round of stimulus payments in the state of California worth around $1,000 is underway. And in Virginia, folks, a resident can claim a 2021 tax return and receive a $500 rebate in their mailbox. It's important to note that the 2022 tax refund program in several states is a little bit different than other state stimulus programs because people in Massachusetts, for example, will each receive a different amount of money in their tax refund checks. It's because Massachusetts will mail a check or provide a direct deposit that amounts to about 14% of each eligible taxpayer's state income tax liability from their 2021 tax return. This year, Massachusetts will return the more than $2.9 billion in excess revenue to eligible taxpayers. Eligible people and taxpayers will generally receive a 2022 tax refund of about 14% of their 2021 Massachusetts income tax liability. However, if you have unpaid taxes or owe child support, the amount of your refund may be reduced by the amount of the outstanding tax liability or unpaid child support that you have. So the Massachusetts tax refund will either arrive in the mail check or be sent via direct deposit. Not only that, if the state has already have your banking information on file, you can actually get stimulus payments faster than everybody else. So right now, we know that the Biden administration is just moving forward with an overhaul of several student debt forgiveness programs, everybody. It's aiming to make it easier for borrowers to get relief. Today, the Education Department has actually finalized a package of rules that were proposed earlier this year. Not only that, but the new rules take hold in July and are separate from Joe Biden's sweeping student debt forgiveness plan, which is already being held up in court amid a legal challenge because of Republicans. The Education Secretary has actually called it a monumental step that will make it faster and simpler to get debt relief, and he also said the Biden administration is fixing a broken system and putting borrowers first. Chief among the changes is a revamp of a program known as Borrower Defense. It offers debt forgiveness to students whose colleges commit fraud. The program aims to help victims of predatory for-profit colleges, and it has been bogged down by complex rules and political battles. It resulted in a massive backlog of applications, though. Now, CNBC is also in reversal from the former president's policies that eliminated group the charges and make it harder for individuals to qualify for stimulus checks. The new rule cements the department's ability to erase debt for thousands of borrowers in a single action, as the Biden administration has already done so for people who attend Corinthian colleges and other non-profit and for-profit college chains. In a major shift, the federal government will also be able to force colleges to cover the costs when their students are granted loan cancellation because of fraud. Those costs have typically been passed to taxpayers, prompting complaints from conservative critics who say the program too freely cancels debt at the public's expense. The new rule erases the 15-day rule. It allows payments to count even if they are made late or in multiple installments. It also makes borrowers to make up a year of payments in advance in a single sum rather than make monthly payments. So we're seeing some people, like President Biden, help out the American people with stimulus payments, and as long as the Republicans agree to this and Democrats sign on the bill, we can see more stimulus checks in our mailbox.
Overwhelmingly support our agenda. Lowering prescription drug costs, making healthcare more affordable, rebuilding America, revitalizing American manufacturing, taking on climate crisis, and finally making big corporations pay their fair share. Preserving democracy and protecting fundamental rights. This is the progress and the programs that we ran on. This is the vote that showed just some real enthusiasm for what we're fighting for. And guess what? It matters. You know, when we came to office,